Welcome to Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. What if you could learn from experienced real estate investors, find out what got them to where they are now, get insight into their daily habits, and take these insights to inspire your own growth? Each week, Jonathan Green shares an in-depth look at the mindful approach to real estate investing. Jonathan is a lifelong real estate investor, advisor, and coach, as well as the founder and team leader of Streamlined Properties. Whether you're looking to start from scratch, get to the next level, or just for a straightforward and honest approach to real estate investing, Jonathan seeks to provide a free mentorship program you can take with you anywhere. Now, here's Jonathan.
Thanks for queuing up another episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. And this is a start small, scale big story. And I'm not always a proponent of scaling, but when you listen to this story with my guest, Sayam Ibrahim, you're going to understand how he started and how he scaled and how it's possible that anyone can do it because he did it. Let's get to Sayam. This is episode 203 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Sayam Ibrahim. Sayam has been in this business and done more than 1,000 residential and commercial deals across Ohio, Florida, Georgia, and Maryland. He's taught over 5,000 students, and now he is in charge of the finance and funding portions of Hero Homes University. Sayam, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I was looking at these numbers and I'm like, man, this guy's done a lot of deals. What's your favorite asset class or type? I mean, do you like single families? And you've done so many. What is your favorite?
Yeah, so we've done single family, multifamily, hotel investing, storage facilities, and more recently, we're focusing on new construction. But I actually still like the single family space because it still provides liquidity. Right. So if you want to build a rental portfolio, you can go ahead and buy these large apartment buildings, which we have some. However, if you need cash, if you want to pull cash out for something, the single family space still provides the most liquidity out there. Right. You can sell one asset, you can sell a house, pull some money out. You don't have to liquidate an entire building to do so. So I still love that space. And I tell everyone I work with, single families are a great investment, no matter where your experience level is.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a great point. It's not something that people think about a lot because I think people think, oh, real estate, it's just liquid. It's not all the same amount of liquidity. Like you said, you can't just turn and put a 122 unit on Zillow and think, Bob Smith is going to buy it. There's much fewer buyers. Like you said, especially where you are in these markets, if you have a good product and you're pricing it right, it's going to sell. And right now with low inventory, it's going to sell right away. It's just about how much money you're going to make, right?
Exactly. Look, there's single families everywhere. There's not a market in the country you're not going to find single family homes that you can go and buy. So the inventory is there, the liquidity is there, and you have the vast majority of buyers that are also there. Now, I would probably take it a step further because I like that price point that works well for a rental and a flip. So I would take it a step further and say, I like that middle income, that median price point area for any market and add that to the asset class that we're talking about.
Yeah, that's another great point because that gives you all the exit strategies. You can do long-term rent. You could do short-term rent, honestly, in most markets. You can definitely do mid-term rentals now. It just gives you that spread of opportunity. That's a great point. So, let's go all the way back, though. How did you first get involved in real estate? Was it something you were interested in when you were younger? When did you when did it pop into your head?
No.
Because I know you were on Wall Street before you got to this.
Yeah, no, I'd always had the mindset of wanting to go into corporate America, right? I'm a son of two immigrant parents. My mother is from the Dominican Republic, father's from Ethiopia, and they said, you got to go to school, you got to study, you got to go get a great job. That's what they taught me. That's what they wanted me to do.
That's classic immigrant parents, right? That's it.
Exactly. So I always had that mindset. And, I was fortunate enough, I got a scholarship to Georgetown University and then went to work on Wall Street. So I had the corporate job.
Yeah.
On paper, I was extremely successful. I was making great money, but I literally had no time to spend it. I was doing 80 to 100 hours a week. And you're in Jersey, you know very well the Wall Street lifestyle.
Oh yeah.
And I was about to get married and I wanted to take some time off. And I gave my boss notice, but when the time came up, he was like, I can't let you take that time off. It's high season. We're busy. I think you got to reschedule. And I was like, what? Reschedule my wedding?
My marriage? Yeah.
Exactly. That was the turning point that made me want to go out and do something else. So I quit. My dad practically disowned me. He's like, you're losing every opportunity of becoming a millionaire. You're making the wrong decision. Then you have to go to medical school, right? And I was like,
Right.
oh, that's not in my future, Dad. Sorry. Right?
Yeah.
So, I actually, for like a short period of time, I started buying cars and selling them, buying motorcycles and selling them, trying to figure out what I want to do next. And my
Yeah.
brother, who's my business partner, Xavier, he found the house in Newark, New Jersey. And it was a crappy, rundown home, but it was surrounded by pretty homes, and that was our
Yeah.
entire underwriting to know it was a good deal. So,
But like, let's be honest for people. If you're just a good looker, it kind of works. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's not a terrible strategy.
exactly. You find the ugliest house on the nicest block, right? It's
Exactly.
the old saying in real estate: location, location, location. And so we bought that home. We didn't have a bunch of savings because even though we was making great money on Wall Street, I was also spending a lot of money living in the city, and
Yeah.
your bills know your income, right? So
Exactly.
all right, so we went out and borrowed 2,000 here, 3,000 there. My brother got a loan on his car, and we bought the home. We paid 45 grand for the house. We renovated and we sold it, and we made $60,000. And on our first deal, we were like, "This is something we could do again." Right? And so we kept scaling and growing at that point in time. And the rest is history. Almost 1,400 deals down the pipeline.
Yeah, I wanted to just get back onto one point though. When you switched and you said your dad disowned you, have they come back from that, realizing like, wow, now you've turned this into like a raging business model? Because what your story is very similar to very many other guests that I've had on who have parents who immigrated here, they were born here, but it was the mindset that the parents have a scarcity mindset, like they're trying to provide for you, but they don't actually really want you to be killing yourself 90 hours a week just to make it, right? So eventually they figure it out.
Yeah, no, they came around. It took them some time, but they came out. My mother was always supportive of it. My father was the tough one where he's like, "You've got to be this." But he's come around and we've built a nice, successful business, and he couldn't be more proud. So it definitely, we've purchased over $250 million of real estate. So it definitely worked out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but they're like a distrust of the process in the beginning always is coming from the best place. It's that they don't want you to have to struggle like they did when they came to the country, and they just assume that these things are the easier route. But right now that's changing a lot. I mean, I don't think that a lot of people are looking at it the same because jobs just aren't the same. It's not like nobody, like you said, if I can't leave to get married, there's a problem here in the equation, even if my salary is good.
Is that the lifestyle you really want? Although you're making great money, is that how you want to spend the next 20, 30 years of your life living, right? Asking to go to the bathroom, essentially. I mean, it's an exaggeration, but it's not how I wanted to live. So we made our better life.
Yeah. Well, what was like the best lesson that you learned on the first flip? Because I'm sure you made a lot of mistakes, but that's a really good buy price in 45 and you make 60. Like that's a really good first experience. And sometimes that takes people, like, they get a little bit too high on themselves, but you seem like you were just like, hey, like, let's just keep the snowball rolling and see where we go.
Yeah. So I learned a couple things. So Newark is an interesting city in and of itself, right? I have a few funny stories. Right? We were putting on the light fixture on the front door and we were drilling it in, and I put the drill down, not thinking to myself that this is Newark, right? Go inside to go get some more screws, come back out, the drill's gone.
Yeah.
Right? Drill's gone. About 20 minutes later, a guy's walking down the street, asked me if I want to buy a drill for $20.
That sounds very Newark. I could maybe pick and choose. Yeah. It happens in a lot of areas. And that's something that you don't think about, though, because Newark is a great example just for people. Like Newark is a town, the city that everybody's been saying is up and coming for 70 years. And parts are great and parts aren't. It's a city. It has 17 zip codes, I think, inside of just Newark. So, if you not knowing, though, Newark as a whole, you could think like one area could be better. You did the eye test, which is way more important when you're going in. It's like, well, these other houses are really nice. We're buying the dump. Whereas if you do that from afar as like someone who says, I'm in Ohio, I want to invest in Newark, and you just look at the street address, you can make a big mistake that way. I think the eyes really helps when you're doing it at that level.
There's some tough streets in that city, in every city, right? There's some tough streets. But I completely agree with you. But the biggest learning lesson, I think, from that first deal was to hire professionals to do some of the work. work, right? My brother and I tried to do a lot of it ourselves. I mean, I remember demo day. I was carrying a toilet out of the basement that was filled because it was homeless people that were going in and out of the house.
Yeah.
That was filmed with all types of nasty stuff, and it just all falls on me, right?
Yeah.
I trip on the
That's the
steps,
worst.
all falls on me. Disgusting, right? Last thing you
I
know,
would have literally quit real estate after that. That's why I don't touch that stuff.
but we had to paint that house 3 times. My brother and I painted the home.
Yeah.
The first time, we got all this negative feedback. And then at the open house, they said, look, the corners they suck, right? So we're like, all right, next weekend, let's close it down. We're going to go repaint it again. But, that 3 times painting, it overdid any cost savings that we would have had if we would just hired somebody and done it right. So from there, I realized, let me just hire the professionals, let them do what they do best. Right, I'll write the checks, no problem, and I'll confirm it's done to great quality. So that was one huge learning experience. The second thing is I took myself out of the equation of doing the renovations. Right, so I realized that if you're in there, and there's nothing wrong with being a painter, there's nothing wrong with being an electrician, but when you're in there and you're painting the home, you're literally saying that your time is worth $25 an hour, whatever the painter's charging you. When in reality, you can be spending that 5 hours painting the home, finding your next deal that's going to make you $30,000, $40,000, $50,000.
Exactly.
Right. So those are my 2 biggest learning lessons.
Yeah, I love them. And you don't really learn that until later when you start trying to source multiple deals and realize, like, wait, if I spend 1 hour just getting a deal instead of doing this painting, I can make another 60 grand.
Exactly.
And that's where the scale is, the better that you get. And that's like a who, not how principle, replacing yourself. I know I suck at everything trying to renovate. I don't even try. I just knew from the beginning, like, I just don't think I try that hard to do it. If I really watch, I would, but I also know, like, I really don't want to do it. And I think that's part of it too. You got that great experience, though, to learn what you're good at, what you're not. And that helps you, I think, with oversight on the next one. So for people who never get their hands dirty, you at least have to be there. I always would say, like, hey, find a friend who's flipping a house and just ask if you can just go and sit and watch the craziness that happens every day. So then you have a better idea how to manage the managers if you don't want to be hands-on like me.
Yeah, I agree. The few times I tried to input myself into the business, it didn't go well, right? Into the renovation part. I mean, another time we were doing demo and I said, you know what, I'll bring this stuff to the dump. And I step on a nail. Right. And it goes through my shoe. So I'm like, you know what? This is the last time I'm doing this. Let me focus on finding the next deal and raising money and building the business. This is not my forte.
I'm just shocked it took you to stand on a nail after dumping an entire toilet on yourself to say no. I tell you, but these are real stories of real estate investing. A lot of you could get injured, when you're doing things. If you try to do electric, you could get electrocuted. There's a lot of dangerous things in a house that I think people, you can do DIY, but you really do need to be careful. And it's smart to consult with professionals, see what you can do and what you can't do. Don't you think in the beginning, though, like when it's just you two, you're like, well, let's just save money. It never ends up saving you money.
No,
it always costs you money. Like you do things. Yeah. You do things unpermitted. City catches you. It's
Exactly. It's not worth it. It sounds like a good idea, but it's not worth it in the long run.
Yeah. Well, when did you guys really decide, like, hey, I think we can really make this a full-time business, real estate? Was it right after that first one where you were like, let's do it?
No, we did a few deals because not every one of the beginning deals went exactly according to plan. The second deal actually was not as great, right? And it was because I didn't really know how to figure out what the after repair value was or what the renovation budget was. And I listened to what someone told me. The realtor said, hey, this is a $30,000 renovation. No, it wasn't. It was much more, right? And the realtor says, I can sell this for you for $250, no problem. We sold it for $200. So the second deal didn't go exactly like the first deal, but it was after a first couple of deals and we were able to generate enough income that would supplement any other thing that we'd have done or replace any other thing. And that's why I tell my mentees and the people that I work with, right? Don't just quit your job cold turkey like I did. Yeah, I did it. But that doesn't mean that's what I recommend, right?
Yeah.
Do a deal while you're still working at your job. You get 1 or 2 deals going. You can make 50, 60, 70, whatever number you need is your nut. And once you've done that, then I wholeheartedly support you jumping all in because now you can just scale it to the next level, right? And that's kind of the time that we did that.
Yeah, so. I agree. I call it runway. I mean, you need to build up enough runway. And really, like, what if you like your job? if you like your job, that's how you stay lendable also, because once you hop out and go full time, then you're not as lendable. You're lendable on your flipping company now, whatever your LLC is making, or your 1099. So it's a much different thing. So you really need to like get to the point where you've replaced your income, and then that you still need savings. Just like for new home buyers, they're like, hey, I have 20,000 to invest. I want to get a property. I'm like, well, 15,000 of that is reserved. So you have 5,000. These are things you don't know until you try it. And like, oh, wait, I did need money for repairs when something breaks.
For sure, for sure. I mean, there's strategies out there where you can get deals with not needing a lot of money, but yeah, obviously having a cushion always helps, right? It makes things that much easier. It makes you that much more bankable. But in our real estate business, we don't necessarily use your Bank of America's or Chase to fund our deals. So I use a lot of quote unquote private lenders, like your hard money, and then we use rental lenders that do that's called a debt service coverage ratio loan. So the property qualifies. So there's ways to get around it, but it definitely helps, of course.
Yeah, you said something important I want to touch on because you have so much experience in this game. There are a lot of people out there, and you probably have students who want to do low money down, no money down. But the reality of is the people who buy the most deals with the least money down have money. Like the reason they can get those deals and use the leverage is because they have the leverage not to use the money. It's hard to do, but it is possible. The more you learn and the more strategies you understand, the better you can do it. But some of the things are a little bit dangerous, like sub 2 is more dangerous than seller financing. Seller financing makes sense. It's just about how well you can explain it to somebody, right?
Of course, that all that makes 100% sense, and it's something we do all the time. We do sub 2 deals, right? They help, yes, but you're right. If you don't structure it the right way, they can call the loan. However, there's things you can do, like put it into a trust to kind of offset some of the risk, but still requires some knowledge, right, to be able to structure that. But one thing that we've done for your listeners, if it's okay for me to kind of share this, is
of course,
about 300 of our 600 rentals that we bought it with only a few $1,000s down. But again, we knew the strategies, right?
Yeah.
So we'd go and I like to target retiring landlords, people that have owned property for 20, 30 years, 40 years.
Some of my all-time favorites, yeah.
Exactly.
Because you're building a relationship with someone who is tired, right? Exactly. I mean, like that's the whole point. And then you keep going, though, because I think this is going to be a great point for people on who they can target.
You take a property that someone owned for 30 years. They may have paid pennies basically compared to what you can pay for today. So let's just say they paid $30,000 for that house in New Jersey or wherever 30 years ago, and I can offer them $100,000 today. But in reality, after a little bit of renovation, that house is worth $180,000. So my $100,000 offer is already winning for them. In addition to this, they've received rent for a year, so their basis is practically nothing, right, on this home. So what I've done, or we've done, my brothers and I have 2 younger brothers, and I have another partner as well. What we've done is we've structured these deals saying, all right, Mr. Seller, what if I bring you the majority of your money today, right? Let's say I can get 80% from a debt service coverage ratio lender because it's already a rental, right? And I give you 80% today. Will you give me 5 years to pay you that 20% down payment? And I'll pay you from the cash flow, and your rental, you believe in it, the money's coming, right? And a lot of these landlords are okay with it because that 20% deferred payment, it defers the tax liability on that money, and they get some interest on that money, right? And they're already making money at what you're getting them from day one. So we've stepped into a lot of rentals like that. So for people that maybe don't have the cash, or people that are just getting started and trying to build some passive income, that's a great way to step into a deal and not need a lot of money, but you need the education and knowledge to structure that, of course. So.
Yeah, and you need to be able to transfer that to the seller so they don't think it's a scam. Because if they have never heard of holding paper or seller finance or anything, they immediately think it's a scam. But one thing you said that I think is so important is, again, it's the object of how much money you have and how much money you need to get a deal done. You were able to do this because you had the strategy and you could. But the thing that I find funny, and I know this, is most people are trained, quote, trained to go out and tell everybody that their postcards and their calls are, I'll buy your house quick for cash. And really only like 5% of sellers really need cash quick. It's pre-foreclosures and foreclosures. That person that you're buying from, they don't need cash at all. He's way up. He probably doesn't want the cash. He doesn't want the capital gains. So seller finance is going to help. And this is where it becomes someone where you have a lot of tools in your toolbox. You're looking, how can we get a win-win? It's going to help them. they're not getting the end price because you're going to do the work to get it, right? It's how you figure out how everybody can win in this scenario that makes it, I guess, that's what makes me feel the best.
I completely agree. So what really makes you a powerful real estate investor that's going to really scale your business up, that's going to really have you have the arsenal to go out there and close deals, is having all those tools on your belt, right? Some other ways people can get into deals with not a lot of money is there's something it's more recent, but it's called innovation, right? Have you heard that term before, innovation?
Yeah,
Right?
We just did a couple shows before you. We did a show with Trevor Ahing, and all he does is novation. That's it.
Exactly. We're literally making tons of money on these novations where you don't need to have to give the seller a bunch of money. You tell the seller, hey, Mr. Seller, you believe in this property. You want your price. I can give you your price, but I'm going to pay you when I sell it in 6 months. Let me go in there. Let me get the property, retail ready, and then I'll pay you in 6 months. And we can all celebrate and get paid at the same time.
Right.
Let's go out to dinner
all
and celebrate.
Together.
Exactly.
Yeah, the term alert light bulb is that retail ready. That's it. They have a hoarder's house or they haven't done the repairs. Hey, we're going to sink in money. That's why you're going to get this and we're going to get this. We're going to do it together. That's a win-win. And I think people kind of think that everybody who buys off market is just trying to steal from old ladies. And it's just so not the case. The people who buy the most homes, including yourself, are usually have great relationships with the off-market sellers. And they do have a collaborative relationship because that's how you do volume business, not by sneaking properties away, right?
Yes, I completely agree with you. As a matter of fact, some of the sellers that we purchase from end up becoming private lenders in our real estate business down the line when they get paid. Right? They get $300,000, $400,000, looking for a great way to place that money. They can go and let's do some deals together. I can get you 10, 12, 15% on your money, right? Much better than the bank, of course. So yes, if it's a win-win, then it's a deal for everybody and you guys can have a long-term relationship. So.
Yeah. That's because you're building trust. I think, a lot of people think off-market acquisition specialists are all wholesalers. Obviously people who do off-market acquisition end up wholesaling, but I've always said the best wholesalers aren't wholesalers. They're people who are good at marketing, relationships, and acquisition, and they have overage. You probably get so many in the hopper, you're I can't take 13 down. Then you start to see who else wants a deal here? Who wants to JV one, right?
Exactly. I completely agree with you. So if you approach a real estate business or you approach a deal and you should approach every deal with the intention of say, this is a great deal, I would buy it, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to market to your wholesale buyers because you have so much in the pipeline, or maybe you're a little busy right now, whatever the situation is, no problem. But you need to believe in the deal and understand it's great and be willing to buy it. And that's what makes a good wholesaler, right?
Yeah.
I see a lot of these guys where they put anything in contract, whether it's a deal or not. Right? They string each other along.
There's not, I agree. And that's very common for new people because they're so desperate to lock something up that they lock up a dog, and then you're what the numbers don't even make sense. It's not even close.
I got an email just 2 weeks ago, and it said fire deal. Right? You can buy it for $100, put $40K, worth $150. I'm where's my margin? Right? There's no margin in that. Right? So,
I know. And how much are they getting?
Exactly.
It is. I think the best thing about real estate is the transparent parts, but we all know it's not as transparent as we all hope. But boy, it would be a lot easier if everybody was just super transparent with everything. Hey, we do have a structural problem. It's going to cost you $10K. Great. Now we're not going to have an argument. We're going to move forward. What do you do in those situations where you're finding properties, they're trying to sell you something. You go in the basement and you're okay, I can see a structural problem, or you can see they're hiding, in New Jersey, there's a lot of oil tanks. It comes up all the time. When they're very easy to find, but somebody's trying to pull your leg in the middle there.
Yeah, no, I come across that a lot. And anytime I put something in contract, I send my inspectors, I send my contractors through there. So if you're trying to, push something over us, it's going to come out. Right. And if maybe once, okay, I'll give you the excuse. Right. All right. Maybe he didn't know or she didn't know. Right. But if it happens repeatedly, I'm just not going to do business with you anymore. Right. I'm going to move on.
Exactly. Wholesalers in the middle. When it's an estate, I always think oh, well, the heir really may have no idea. Yeah. They may never have even been to this house. But you kind of know, we've seen them where they've clearly dug a tank and then they didn't remove it and they put it back and there's still the hay and we're but it's still connected. We're figuring it out. Hey, it's Jonathan. I hope you're enjoying this episode with Sayam Ibrahim. What a crazy journey. And this guy has done so many deals and he's so humble. Ton of knowledge here. I hope you're enjoying it. On this brief interlude, I wanted to talk to you about my relationship with Rent to Retirement. Rent to Retirement is one of the nation's leading turnkey providers. They specialize in new build turnkey properties. If you want to get more information, you can use my link at bit.ly/R2R-Zen. That's bit.ly/R, the number 2, R-Zen. Let's get back to the show. What I think would help other people, because you started small, of course, with this first one in Newark, you were trying it out. How did you scale so big? Because people now, I think, are a little bit too quick to try to scale. What was it like for you? How did you figure out when you knew you could start doing multiple deals and then getting into much larger deals as you went along?
Yeah, I think it's all about building the right team around you, right? I would not try to scale if you don't have the right team. I mean, I went through in the beginning. It's exciting to say, oh, if I buy 10 homes and I make $50,000 a home, I'll make $500K in the next 6 months. But
assuming you buy all of the great ones, right?
Exactly. If you don't have the right infrastructure, that can all blow up, right? So you gotta bring on the right team. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is that realtors are great, right? I like actually targeting realtors that are newer. They have a little bit of experience, but they're newer because they're willing to work for their money. The guy that sells 100 homes a year doesn't need you, right? He'll sell 100 regardless of whether you're there. And so we put realtors onto our team, and we make the realtors our project managers. And we'll tell them, hey, every Friday, I need to make a payment for the contractor. Great. So I'm going to need you Friday morning to walk the property, send me a video, go through the checklist and tell me what's done. And I'll pay for work completed. That way we're not exposed and your job gets done in time so you can list it and make a profit. And for this, I'm going to give you an extra % on the back end, right? An extra for the background. And they're happy. I love it. Yeah, they're happy.
And I mean, I'm licensed and I work with a ton of investors, but I think that's a great strategy for the young hustler realtors, like you said. And because then they're also so much more well-versed in the property when they go to list it. They've been watching the flip. They understand what happened. They have a better dialogue. They can combat any objections. And then they're riding along in the process. You know, what happens a lot? Realtor takes your flip listing. They don't even ask you any questions. And then they're at the open house and they're texting you like, hey, what did you do with that? You know, did you do a structural? And you're like, I already told you all this, you know? So that is very, very important. I think it is important to really lock in with, you know, a realtor in your area. So you have a smooth system because you want to sell for the most. So you want to make sure they know what you've done so you can adequately get that across. So you don't have to kind of micromanage that end part, because that's where we're all looking for the spread. Everybody wants us to make the most in the end, but you know, sometimes there's mistakes made and you have to figure it out.
I agree 100%. We're on the same page there.
Yeah. How did you start going away from single family? Like, did deals just come up that started to become multi or commercial and you were like, oh, I think we can take that down?
Exactly. When you're marketing for single family, you're going to have multifamily kind of fall in the mix. Right.
Yeah.
If you're targeting retiring landlords, some of these landlords own homes and they own apartment buildings. Right? If you're targeting people that are delinquent on their property taxes, that's going to be for single family homes as well as apartment buildings and retail centers, whatever type of building that's going to come across. So the multifamily stuff kind of just fell in our lap in the process of us doing all this stuff. And our first real multifamily deal that we did on the small scale was in Columbus, Ohio. All right. It was a 4-unit building that we bought and, you know, did extremely well for it. And we saw, all right, well, if we do 4, we can do 10, right? If we do 10, we can do 16.
Yeah.
And, you know, my first $1 million check was on a 16-unit building that we did in Miami, Florida. So we bought it from a retiring landlord that had owned it for a long time, allowed it to get run down. We structured this almost exactly the same like a single family. We went and got a bank. We brought some private money in to fund the gap. We went and renovated it. We stabilized it and rented it out. And then we sold it. And we came out with over $1 million check on one deal. So I think you got to scale in a way that's not going to make it, you know, overwhelm you. And you've got to build the right infrastructure and team. You want to get the right contractors on your team. You want to get the right inspectors, the realtor, all that stuff. And then the rest is easy, right? And as you're in this business, you should be networking every single month, right? So until this day, we still go to networking meetings. People say, why do you go to networking meetings when you've been this for 15 years? And I'm like, well, you never know who you're going to meet there. You never know what value this person I meet could provide to your business and vice versa, that some amazing opportunity blossoms. All right. I mean, we're starting a large development opportunity in Atlanta. We're going through the entitlement process now. That
Yeah.
deal only fell in our lap because of networking and meeting an attorney that put us in contact with that owner. So when you're out there networking, you're going to meet private lenders, you're going to meet hardware lenders, title companies, attorneys, potential sellers, and you never know how it comes around full circle. So in the scaling process of your business, you should be networking because your net worth is your network.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think it's so helpful for new investors to meet other investors just from the thing like, hey, wait, you kind of like look like me and feel like me. You know what I mean? A lot of times, if you don't have investors in your family and you don't know any investors, you kind of think you're going to pull up and everyone's going to be like in a suit. And then you get there and everyone's in shorts and a tank top and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is awesome. Wait, and they say, well, I just bought my first house, 10 years ago. Now I have 37 units. And you're like, huh? Because you can't see it until you get there. Online is one thing. People can always be lying. But once you show up, shake hands, and you're like, wow, wait, they can do it. I can do it. I think that
Yeah.
really breaks the books, podcasts, education stuff, and it helps people build the confidence. Just meeting one friend who does the same thing can change your trajectory in 1 second.
I completely agree with you, right? There's really no difference between that person that has 37 doors and you. Only difference is they started before you, right? So if you start surrounding yourself around people that are doing the things that you want to do, you eventually start doing those things just out of being around those people and seeing their interactions, meeting the people that they meet. So I completely agree with your statement.
Yeah, it's just that thing when you get around somebody who's done it, it finally makes it seem like not that hard. Because online, everyone's just like, well, I put it in the spreadsheet and it didn't work. It's like, we're not talking about spreadsheets. We're talking about people. Just like you can't vet every deal that you're going to buy off market by the spreadsheet because you don't know what their problem is. The spreadsheet doesn't matter if you can't solve their problem. And these are things that new investors have to weigh, like focus on the people. The other stuff will work itself out. I was reading a forum today and someone was saying like, oh, I get nervous before I make a call. I'm not ready on my script. And I was saying like, well, what do you need a script for? Just talk to somebody. Just be a regular person because that's when you do that, then they're not, scared or immediately think you're just like everyone else who's cash. I got so much cash.
I completely agree with you. I have a funny story, if you don't mind me sharing it, about the spreadsheet. So I had a mentee a couple years back that had this deal. It looked so great on paper. It looked amazing. It looked awesome. It was on the market. It had been in and out of contract. Looked like over a dozen times, right? And he's like, why is this deal? And why is no one buying it? And I said, did you go and drive by the house? Did you see what's wrong with it? He says, no, I put it in contract because I saw it on Zillow or whatever, Realtor, whatever the website was, right? And I said, go by and drive by the house and see why everyone has an issue with it. And at the end of it, it was directly next to a cemetery, right?
Yeah.
And, maybe you could do a deal next to a cemetery, but not every buyer wants to do that.
But there's a price for that.
Exactly.
That's your due diligence. You'll like this because you were talking about Newark in the beginning. I one time was showing a property in Jersey City and I just didn't have time to look it up. And it's row homes, and I showed up and it was the row home, and then right next to it was the police station. I was like, wow, that was a screw. You're just like, okay, and you see like, hey, this looks good. Why is it still on 75 days? And then you don't look on Google Maps and you're like, okay, that makes sense. But that's really important for people who aren't taking the reps or they're doing out of state because it's very, very difficult. You can miss a lot. Google Maps could be, 3 years out of date.
I agree.
So I like to look at everything, or at least you need to send boots on the ground with video so you can see everything there. How has it been for you when you started to invest out of state when you weren't there? What was that process like?
Yeah, in the beginning it was a little bit tough because you want to be in control of everything, right? You want to be able to just run to the house and fix whatever issue is there yourself. But that's where you really build the right team, right? So I brought project managers on. I brought the realtors to become the project managers in the beginning until I brought on full-time project managers once we really started getting large enough. So just building the right team. We tried multiple markets until we found the markets that we thought was great. And that's why our favorite cities in the country are in the Midwest. Right, to investment. I love Columbus, Ohio. I love Cleveland, Ohio, right? Because our model for doing deals, for being safe, for protecting our money, I don't like to lose money, right? For collecting our money is we want 2 exit strategies on every deal that we do. I never do a deal where there's only one way to profit. You need multiple profit centers. So I've had deals that I've purchased, I've renovated, or I've built from scratch, and then it sits in the market for one reason or another and just doesn't sell. And I can't understand why is this property not selling, right? However, if that's the case, every deal that you do needs to also paper as a rental property.
Yeah.
Because I can just pivot, hold it for a few years, wait till the market catches up, and then sell it and still make money as a rental. So that's one of our things that we've done, and we teach our mentees so that they can keep themselves safe and they don't get themselves in a position where they end up taking a loss because their deal didn't pan out the way they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the greatest things about real estate and what we started out when you're just talking about single family homes. You have so many pivots. Now, even with small multifamily, I feel like you have pivots because you could do a short-term rental up top and then you could do a long-term rental down below, sneak in a midterm, and you have all these different, things going on inside one asset. That I really love for small multifamily, just the options, because I think, look, people can't afford homes to buy right now. So you're going to have opportunities for people who are going to choose to rent. That plays right into landlords' hands, not in a nefarious way, in a like, hey, we can build better products because we're going to get better renters who are choosing to not, pay 7.1% on an interest rate. They're just going to rent and buy an investment property in Columbus.
Yes, I completely agree with you. And when we look at our any multifamily that we buy, we always, again, with the two exit strategy. Okay, you can buy it, renovate it, and then resell it at a lower cap rate down the line, right?
Yeah.
Or you can rent it, just hold it long term. But one more exit strategy we implement with these multifamilies is, can I make this a condo conversion? And we've done
I love it. Yeah.
well and made a lot of money doing this. And we bought a 30-unit in Urbana, Ohio, which is a small town in Urbana, in Ohio, just like a suburb of Dayton, if you're familiar with that city. And it was 30 units. We bought it for $60,000 a door, and the rents were fair. We actually still own it, right? We own most of them at least. But the thought process was, what if we compare this to condos and single family homes, and how a retail buyer can afford it? Man, it raised the value to the roof, and it went from $60,000 a door, literally spending less than $20,000 going through the condo process, right? $60,000 a door to $155,000 a door, that. All right.
The condo conversion's very popular in Jersey City here because they're taking what used to be multifamilies, turning them to two super swank side by side, basically condos now. And then they condoize the multifamily and then they sell them off separately. And it's also a great play for people who buy in. Say you buy in on a 3-family and you just hang on to it for a few years. Then you do the condo conversion and then you can outsell. You can make hundreds of thousands of dollars on that. That's a great point and a great strategy.
I'll give you one. Can I give an example? So in Columbus, Ohio, we bought a duplex in Columbus, Ohio. It was 7-8 years ago. And, the ARV, or the after repair value of the duplex, paid $200,000 for it. The ARV was $300,000 as a duplex, and we spent about $50,000 renovating it. So we rented for $250,000. All right, and we said, you know what? It doesn't make sense to sell this thing and only come out with $20,000, $25,000. This is a beautiful property, great part of town, and that's the first time we came up with the condo play. So we went to an attorney. We got a survey. They did a basic preliminary layout drawings, and then they did the condo docs. Entire process cost less than $10,000. And guess what? I sold one side of it for $250,000. All right. Only half of it for $250,000. And I kept the other side for years as a rental property, and then eventually sold it for $300,000. So that $300,000 total ARV, or after repair value, now became a $550,000 property by simply thinking outside the box and implementing another exit strategy. So for your people that are out there, if you think outside the box, you'll make deals work that otherwise would have never worked or penciled out, but you got to think outside the box.
Yeah, and then you can be smart enough to pay a little bit more in a competitive environment because you have a better strategy going out. And the people are like, well, how can they pay that? You'll see in a couple of years. But also really important, what you mentioned is it's much safer to do the condoization than to just keep it as, hey, I'm going to own 2 duplexes, because they're not tied together in any relationship with even if it's a mini HOA, that kind of binds them together and keeps it as a tighter property and safer management. Understand who's going to do what in terms of the maintenance. That's a really great point. We haven't talked about condo conversions, but it can really work in any area. And you just do have to make sure you do everything by the book that they want. And then that's another way of providing affordable housing, because you're taking something that was going to be a rental. You're going to make more money, but you're able to swing it in. It's not a single family home. It's a smaller unit that somebody can buy. I love it.
Exactly. Jonathan, we're doing it right now, and it can work anywhere in the world, not just in the United States. So I own a hotel in the Dominican Republic. My family owns a hotel in the Dominican Republic. We bought it almost 3 years ago, right? And it's 71 units on the North Coast in Puerto Plata in a town called Cabarete. And, it was, again, we bought it from a retiring landlord. Someone had owned it for a long time, was tired, let it get run down. He was sick. He actually passed away as soon as we completed the purchase. So he was ready to get out of this thing, right? And, we bought it as a hotel. It's 71 units, rent, a restaurant, some retail spots on it. And we condoed it out. We made
The whole thing?
The entire thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
And from being worth, as a hotel, it was probably worth $4.5, maybe $5 million, right? After we renovated it. But in the condo process, each unit is worth $100,000 now.
Yeah.
Right? So our $4.5 to $5 million exit on this property is now $7 million plus because we thought outside the box. And no one else, it was on the market for a while, no one else even considered this option because they didn't think outside the box.
Yeah, and you've taken your hands off however many units, you choose to sell. It's the coolest thing because you can still keep a bunch of them as rentals. You can sell off 20, make a windfall, put it back into, get more amenities in, which again will increase your value. It gives you so many options. Correct. I think this is a great strategy. And what's cool is you can do it at 70 units and you can do it at 2 units. Yes. You can just do it on a duplex and it really works because it makes sense. You're like, wait, someone can buy this. It doesn't have to be a multifamily. There's 2 separate entrances, 2 separate exits. You just have to make sure you do it to the code that they want to be condoized.
And it usually will yield a higher sale price because as a duplex or a quadplex, whatever property it is, that's an investor buying that. And they're looking at the yield as a rental. But now when you make it a condo, right now it's a retail person buying it and you're looking at the comparables because they're thinking about buying it to live in it. So it's a different buyer. They're willing to pay more and it could just yield some great profits. So this strategy works for new investors and investors that want to do big apartment complexes on a large scale. So I think it's a great strategy.
I mean, who pays the most for properties? Home buyers, because they're getting loans and they can get it. Investors, we don't want to pay the most no matter what we're buying. We want to make sure that the rents make sense and you're running the numbers. Single family, buying half of that duplex, they're not running the numbers. They're saying, hey, I just want to enjoy this place. This is $100,000 cheaper than a single family home. And I don't need to worry about, one exterior wall. It's attached. So there's pros and cons to that. You are attached to someone, so you have to know. But again, it's that first purchase for a lot of home buyers that is tough right now. Like you can't get the single family home. So if there are these other options, I don't know what you think about this, but I love 2-bedroom single family houses because I think it solves that solution. To me, 2-bedroom houses, you can buy them for less, but they rent for basically the same as 3-bedroom houses also, because who needs that much room in a rental? There's not like the differential's not there. Have you bought a 2-bedroom houses or that strategy?
We have a lot of 2-bedroom houses. And in reality, maybe you get $100 less than a 3-bedroom. So
exactly.
The difference is not that big. But the price of those will sell for significantly cheaper. So the yield is better. I think that's a great strategy. That's never been my strategy. Let me target 2 bedrooms, but I understand the rationale and it makes complete sense.
Yeah, well, I look at it for new investors who are priced out because in some markets, there's a drastic difference between 2 and 3 bedrooms because it's like a family area. Everyone's buying those 3 bedrooms. The 2 bedrooms are like, well, we already have a kid. Like we're going to grow out of this in a second. So you're looking for that first time. So there's like you said, big spread on sale and not big on rent. So for new investors, it's like they think they can't afford something. Well, look for, like you were saying before, you look for the worst house on the best block. How about you look for the smallest house on the best block? You're going to hold that land also because someone may want that land someday to build a McMansion or do, whatever they want to do there.
Yes. Phenomenal strategy. Again, thinking outside the box. Right. And that's really what I try to tell people that come to me and say, how do I find a deal? Think outside the box. If you look at the same deals everyone else is looking at, you're competing with them. When you start repositioning things and look at different types of opportunities, you're going to see deals that they're just laying out there that you didn't even realize are there just by thinking outside the box.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about, coaching and mentoring because it's very popular. There's a lot of gurus out there, but I could talk to you for 5 seconds. I'm like, this guy is super solid. But how do you take people who don't have the right expectations getting in? A lot of people will come to you for help and then they think you're going to do everything for them. And you're like, no, you're signing up to get, this information and get into a group where other people are doing, but you probably have to do more work now because that's how you're going to win. What do you do with the people who are not sure they want to do the work? They just want to make it easy.
I actually will just turn them away, right?
Yeah.
So we do.
I was hoping you'd say that.
We have a very good vetted process that before we bring people in, and we'll just turn them away.
Yeah.
I want people that come and work with me to be successful, right?
Right.
And as a result, I mean, look, I had a group of people that came in February. Every single person in that group, right, has closed not one, not two, but many already on their third deal since February, and they were never in the real estate space before. We had another, and I keep these groups relatively small when I bring on mentees because I want to work with them closely and I want to actually see them have success. In July, from the group in July, every single student has already closed their first deal, and it's not even 6 months in, right? So I want people that are going to work hard. I want people that really made the decision that this is what they want, and they're looking to change their financial future, looking to change their situation, right? Because I'm a big believer that your current situation does not have to be your permanent situation, right?
Yeah.
If you're willing to put the work in and follow through. So
I think it goes to what we were saying before about networking. These people who are doing the deals so quickly, they probably are like, get into a group with others, 6, 10 other mentees. And they're like, wait, we all have a buy-in here. We're all hungry. Like, wow, you're cool. You're cool. Like, let's work off of each other. Oh, you just, Bob just got one. I got to get one,
Yes.
and it really helps you see like, hey, we're all doing this. That's why I think I've always said that the resources and stuff that you get through coaching are always good, but the magic is in the other people who are there. They end up being JV partners. They end up partnering sometimes with you. It's the community that you build that can last forever. So if you spend $1,000, $29.99 or $5,000, $50,000, if you just focus on the people, you will crush it. You agree with me, right?
I agree with you. Because I'll take two students. I mean, I see everyone's situation. I know this person may be credit challenged, and this person may have some cash or maybe credit challenged with cash, and this person may have some credit. So I'll say, hey, you guys, if you put you together, we have the perfect package. Why don't you guys go work together and close deals? And that's how we've been able to guide people to actually get to the closing table and have success. So if you get into a group, it's not only the person that's teaching you. Of course, you got to vet them, right? I'm a big believer, right? Because there's a lot of bad characters out there, right? If you're gonna bring someone on and or have someone teach you how to get in the business, you have to ask that guru or whatever they call themselves, show me your HUDs, show me your closing statements, really show me that you're in the business. Right? Because I know too many people that have been in the business for 3 months and they want to teach you how to do the business, or they did 1 deal or 5 deals and they think they're an expert, right?
Yeah.
When I was doing 50 deals, I was still learning. So
okay, it's so funny. Now you're over 1,000. I've done tons of deals. Every time I go into something, I learn something new. I've never had a deal that, even the smooth ones, I'm like, oh, that's not something I ever thought of. It's always something,
Exactly.
That's what's so fun about real estate. I think it also has to be fun. You clearly have fun with it. I love it. I feel like people who are like, it's the people that we buy from are the people who are like, oh, this sucks. I hate being a landlord. I don't like being a landlord either, but that's why I don't buy multifamily. It's not my thing. You have to know what your thing is, or hire management and know how to manage a manager, but you still enjoy it after all these, 1,000 deals, right?
I still love this business. I truly believe it's the best asset class out there. I believe it's the best business to be in, and real estate makes millionaires every single year, right? So it's the best asset class with the most proven track record. I mean, I know people talk about crypto, they talk about the stock market. I come from the Wall Street background, so I understand stocks, but I really don't believe in the stock market or crypto because it's too volatile. Yeah. One day you're on top, you feel like a king, and the next day you're crying because you're down 20%, right? And real estate is real. It's a real asset. It's not going anywhere. It's been around since the beginning of time, and it will continue to be around. And it's only getting more finite, right? They're not making more land. So I believe everyone should own their own piece of this big world and start carving, your future through real estate.
Yeah, and I think ownership, the thought of ownership has to be a little bit different now. I've been talking about this a lot. It's been a theme through a lot. We were talking about it a little bit. Like maybe the first buy for a lot of people who are making good money, it's not going to be that single family home that they're going to live in. It's probably going to be an investment property. Maybe they're going to choose to invest in a syndication first before they do something, because it's a smart use of money on an asset, like you said, that is generally liquid. And also, what's your worst case scenario in real estate? You can't find a tenant and it's just sitting there. If it just sits there for a year, you're losing money because you're paying the mortgage. It's America. It's probably appreciating if you bought in a good neighborhood. If you just hang out and do absolutely nothing, you'll probably still make money.
Yes. Yes. Real estate tends to go up in value over time. And,
Yeah.
you have little dips in when market changes. But if you take any piece of real estate 10 years ago, 3 years ago even, and compare it to today, chances are in most cities in this country, the value's gone up. So I completely
Yeah.
agree with that statement.
Do you remember at the beginning of the pandemic and people were like paying for properties? They didn't know what was going to happen. They were going out to the suburbs and everyone's like, oh my God, this is in New Jersey. You're paying so much. Those people are up like 350 to 500 grand right now in my area, just from 2020 to now. Like no brainer, like crazy.
Yeah. I mean, look, real estate goes up over time. Inflation is not going anywhere, right? We know that inflation is around for a while, and real estate is the best counter-inflation asset, right? It goes up with inflation. So I think buy real estate, buy it now. If you're waiting for interest rates to go down, don't do that. Buy it now and buy more when interest rates go down, right?
Yeah.
You just need to get into the space, own some real estate, and you're going to see that it'll start changing your entire financial picture in your family within a very short period of time.
Yeah. And I mean, take both of our advice. If you're feeling like you're stuck and you can't take the next step, just find a group, go to meetups, start meeting other people. You just need to meet a couple people who are active and doing it, and it will completely change your life. You can then upgrade, get coaching, mentorship, and you will go and blast off. But the first step is just to find one friend who's also doing it, and you'll forget about all the other times you were like, oh, the spreadsheet's not working. Well, you have to go see it. Like you said, go drive by the property and see the graveyard next door, which, again, there's a price for that also.
Of course. All right. I'm not saying I wouldn't buy someone next to a graveyard on a main road. You just have to price it right? Your comparables need to be next to a graveyard or on a main road so that you know you're buying at the right price.
Yeah, you have to know the ARV is going to be lower than the ones that aren't next to the graveyard. It is quiet, though, next to a graveyard.
Quiet neighbors, right? The quietest ones you're ever going to have.
Awesome. Sayam, where is the best place for people to find out about you guys? Is that at herohomesu.net? And that's the letter U.
That's our site. You can see what we offer and all the things that we do. But you can also find me on social media, right? So I have Instagram. My Instagram name is IAM dot Sayam, Sayam. TikTok's the same, IAM.Sayam. And then I recently started a YouTube channel, right? And so I'm only 50 subscribers in, but hopefully by the time you guys see this, all right, it'll be much more than that. And it's Professor Sayam Ibrahim. So follow me on all those. I give free nuggets all the time on real estate, and you won't be disappointed. I try to keep it entertaining and educational at the same time.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. You should head over to Sayam's Instagram. It's just, for me, someone who's very experienced with social media and also been investing my whole life, I can go onto social media and I know who's BS and who's not in like 2 seconds. I'm sure you do too. But for the people out there, you need to watch a few videos, see. And I've said a million times, the best way to know if someone really knows something about the business is to listen to them on a podcast, because if they can talk nonstop, like we're not cutting this up and editing this, the final version is basically going to be this. If you can hear someone go for an hour nonstop, answer all the questions, there's no script, you're really going to understand they really know it. The people who are out there and you've never seen them as a guest on a podcast, there's probably a reason for that. Because why else wouldn't they go on a podcast?
Exactly. Look, there's a big difference, and this is something that's been a problem the past couple of years. There's a big difference between a guru and a duru. Someone that's actually doing the business versus someone who just teaches it and they read it out of a book, but can't really answer the hard questions, right? So I like to think that we are a duru as opposed to a guru, because we've actually been doing the business. I spent the past 15 years building this business, right, with my brothers and my partners. All right. And only in the past year have I really gotten on social media to push it out. So that's why I just started my YouTube channel. Right?
Yeah.
Like I said, when I was doing 50, 100 deals, I was still learning. I didn't feel confident enough to go out there and teach people how to do this. Right. But now we've seen all aspects of it. We've seen the good, the highs, the lows, right? And I'm looking to show my experience and share with the world.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, it was a pleasure having you on the show. I love that we connected before on all the different places that we've lived, like back and forth and ping-ponging between places.
Yes.
But yeah, man, I definitely look forward to staying in touch with you. Hopefully, we'll hook up at one of these events one of these days. And I look forward to that.
Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. That was Sayam Ibrahim of Hero Homes U. You can find it at herohomes.net. I'm Jonathan Green. We'll see you next episode. Thanks for sticking around to the end so you can get a preview of who's coming up on the next episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. And next episode, my guest is Dale Wills of Centra Capital Partners. They offer ground-up single-family home real estate developments designed to help individual investors protect and grow their wealth. We'll see you next episode.